Welcome, everyone. We're just getting set up here, so we'll get started with our conversation in a little bit.
Is it on? Here, pass this around in this section.
So where's home, young man?
Mine?
Yeah. Where's home?
I'm in Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon. Yeah, just moved there like 6 weeks ago. But I'm from Australia originally. You probably didn't hear me talk during the service, but I have an Australian accent, so that's a thing. I'm the token Aussie in the group.
I'm going to kick this off because Lenora wants me to kick it off. So, welcome. I've had the pleasure of getting to know the band a little bit more this week. They were in town for a conference, and so they were using our space throughout the week to rehearse. So that was awesome for me to be able to hear that. And so yeah, this time I have no idea what you're going to talk about. I hope I'm not in charge of it. I am, okay. So, okay, we're not. But yeah, so thanks for coming and thanks to the band. Let's just give applause to each other.
I thought we would start by just introducing it. We could kind of go around and everybody could introduce themselves and maybe say a short thing about yourselves. And there's microphones we can pass down. Oh, I'm Lenora, and I, as I mentioned, am not one of the singers in the band. I write the lyrics and the liturgies and do storytelling and things like that. And I'm really happy to be here.
I'm Jonathan. I am the guitarist and one of the singers for the group. I'm also a classically trained musician, so I play clarinet with the band on occasion, though it's been kind of like since before the pandemic, since I've had a chance to do that. And I do production and music direction for a church in downtown Chicago.
I am Krista. I'm one of the singers in the group.
And an excellent storyteller.
Thanks, Lenora.
And tell them, Krista's the, let's see, we have 2 children, but Krista also.
Yes, I have 2 kids. One is 3. My daughter is 3, and my son is 5. They're amazing. Very smart.
They're brilliant. Brilliant.
I never know what to say.
Bias loves chess.
I know, because then I'll just talk and talk. Yeah, my son loves chess. He's really amazing at it, and he's beating us very often, and he's won his second trophy, so he's super proud about that. I know. And my daughter is starting to show that she really loves the keys. We homeschool her for right now because she's 3. And my husband started her on playing the piano, and so she's really interested, and she sits down on her own, and she just does the, C to C, I've been trying to teach her the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and so but she really enjoys that.
I'm Christina. I'm from California. Originally, I don't know. What are we saying?
What's important to know about you? What makes you you?
I am newly commissioned United Methodist clergy. It's always weird to say because I'm only one clergy, but it's not really. Anyway, and this is part of my ministry, and then my other job is working for a climate justice nonprofit. And I'm so happy to be here.
I'm Ben. I'm an Aussie originally. I live in Portland, Oregon. Just moved there 6 weeks ago. I'm a musician, a songwriter. I got to know these fine folks 8 years ago here in Minneapolis, and we've been friends ever since. And so I just occasionally drift through and play for them when I can. But I love these guys so much.
I am Gary, and just a note, Ben does live in Portland. Everybody else lives in Chicago or near it, and then Lenore and I, who are married, we live in North Carolina. And recently, yeah, that's right, as you mentioned in the sermon. Hannah is our daughter, right here.
Surprise! Spoiler alert.
I spoiled it.
That was my one fun
I know,
fact.
that's what I spoiled it. Yeah, and so I've been a musician all my life, and I've used music, and I've been doing music in many different ways. As a solo artist when I was younger, and as a church musician for many years, as an academic professor in college. So I've done all kinds of things, and I have to say that I think of them all, the many has been one of, really, it's right up there at the top of my favorite experiences of all time. And much of it is because of these people to work with. It's just a great time, and the groups that we get to be with are always so terrific, as you were this morning. So we're happy to be here. Is it just Hannah who needs to go?
What am I supposed to say?
Just make up something.
Fun fact about you, too, about what you do with your life other than that.
All right, my name is Hannah. I do live in Chicago, and I have a songwriting degree from college. I went to Belmont in Nashville, and so I write a lot of the music that we do, and I also sort of music direct the group a little bit too. So love me some music.
Tell them about softball.
Okay, I'm also a. I'll do whatever you tell me.
Whatever you want. Now tell them this.
This is the specific thing I want. I do half and half really of my days. I spend my mornings and afternoons writing music and doing music and stuff, and then afternoons to the evenings I do softball lessons. So I teach people how to be softball catchers, mostly like 10-year-olds to 15-year-olds. And so we do like private one-on-one lessons, and then I coach a 11-year-old travel softball team. And I do teach them how to be catchers, but mostly we're there to just have a therapy session about their lives, because we'll be in the middle of something, and then I'll be like, okay, let's do a drill. And they'll be like, okay, but you want to hear what happened at school today? And I'm like, okay. No.
Can you turn this mic on?
Caleb?
You might not be up there.
Caleb?
This one. Yes.
Just a ghost. It's not
I was
on.
going to say something witty, but now I've lost that.
All right. Siete.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. This is a good reason to give your kids coaching if you have
private
good
coaching.
coaches. Oh, yeah, softball coaching, sport coaching, because they get therapy and they don't have to tell you everything. So we just thought it would be kind of interesting. We had a long time of sort of sharing some ideas and some scripture and some songs this morning. And really a lot of it about the theme of being in transition, being in the in-between place and being in a place where maybe you don't necessarily want to be so much. It's a little uncomfortable and all that kind of good stuff. So I thought it would be wonderful if people might be willing to share some of the feelings and thoughts that that experience of worship this morning brought up for them. And I will hand you the mic, whoever would be willing to share that. Or Nate's going to hand a mic.
I came in today. Why don't we introduce ourselves? Oh, I'm Vern Rice. I'm old. But for being 86, I feel very good. My wife is having a terrible time, and so I'm taking care of her, but I'm very glad that I have a purpose for life, to take care of her, which is my main purpose. But just briefly, I came in today in a kind of a funk. I mean, I'm really sad about Israel and the Palestinians. And I just don't know how in the world we're going to get out of it. And I wasn't ready for you. I was just going through worship just to get through with it. But you guys really connected with me, and you were gentle. You wouldn't rush me or take me over, but you were kind and gentle, and your music was rich. I also appreciate that when you speak, you don't speak too fast. With my ears, I really appreciate what I talked to some of you about, projected conversation. And you guys did that. You don't sound like God. You have conversational tone, but you also give me a few words, a few seconds between words. Obama said, when somebody wrote a speech for him one time, he said, "You have to give me more space between words." And that's how public speaking is so helpful, and I really enjoyed what you did today. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Jenny Wild LaRue, and Nate has incorporated some of your songs before you got here, and the "Come As You Are." Every time I hear it, hear it sung, just as now, I like stop and want to cry. And I don't know why, but there's something that gives me pause in that phrase, and to know that everybody can come as they are. That's what I want to share.
Thank you.
I'm Jill. One of the things that I appreciated about your sharing this morning is that you used the lyrics as the message. And what I appreciated about that is the timing, that you didn't sing strictly as written, but you took the time to finesse the longer notes, and it truly was a work of art, in my opinion. I kind of try to do the same thing. But it struck a heartfelt message with me, and it was well received within my heart. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Anne.
I'm Anne. I grew up in this church and then was away for a little bit during college and early married life, and now we're back again, and this is my dad over here and my husband, so it's kind of fun to be back in this space. But for me, I'm going through a transition right now. I quit my regular full-time job and I'm kind of figuring out my lane, and so transition and just knowing it's okay to just pause and that I am enough, whatever is next, was what I received today, and I just cried through most of the service. Just natural, just running down my face, but in a good way. So thanks for your message today.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Paulette.
There were times where you were addressing the darkness of things that are happening, and certainly the last couple of weeks, as Vern mentioned, have been extremely dark for most people who share a concern of our big, broad world. And I think, you hit notes of that as you were presenting, but then ended with the lighter hope, with the hopeful messages, which I think we all really need today and every day, and appreciate that happened. Thank you.
Thanks. I also had a question for you all. One of the things that you may have heard from pretty much everyone here has either worked in a church or is currently working in a church. And I didn't mention before, but my other job, because we all have other jobs, because, the artists. But my other job is actually doing advertising, and I have several clients who are churches. And there really has been a lot of conversation about the church, and coming out of the pandemic has been really hard on a lot of churches. And I just kind of wondered, what's it like for you all? I am very happy to see all of you here. You're obviously people who want to be in church and care a lot about it. And I just wondered what it's been like for you all after the pandemic, and just in churches in general are losing people, or people are not coming back, and we hear that a lot. And it was one of the things that we talked about a little bit this morning in the time of lament, and overall is the kind of transition period churches are in too. I just wondered if anybody had any thoughts about that.
So I'm one of the church musicians here at Christ the King, but I also have other jobs. And one of those is I am the accompanist at a local high school. And it really keeps me young to be around all of these young kids, and how promising it feels to see them get older and graduate and mature. But one thing that I've noticed is this level of acceptance, that there was particularly one grade that just was so accepting and loving of each other and welcoming everyone, no matter who they were. And I really appreciated seeing that. But I also noticed that one young woman that I was talking with was like, I don't feel, welcome at church, because I've been told that because of who I love, I can't be at church, and that I feel like the more welcoming a church can be, and not saying, you have to be this to be here, you can't love this person if, I feel the more welcoming a church is, that is what will help us in the end, because it's not about excluding, it's about including. So that's just my little viewpoint of what I've witnessed.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Fred.
I've been here almost forever, 50 years. This church has a great tradition of music ministry and a witnessing music ministry, which is what I got from you all today. And my late wife, the mother of my daughter here, I'm remarried now, but when she died, the song they sang, the choir sang at her funeral, was Kyrie eleison. I hadn't heard it quite as in the same light I heard it this morning from you, and it really brought back an awful lot of wonderful memories of the past. So thanks for what you did for me.
Anybody else? Anything to share? Yes.
Well, I have to admit that the pandemic kind of forced us into the technology age, whether we wanted to go there or not. I don't think I had ever participated in a Zoom meeting until the pandemic hit, and I did appreciate the fact that the church tried to keep the weekly services going even if we couldn't meet in person. But I have to admit, there are times when it's kind of like you get kind of used to it, and there are times when I'm tempted, like, especially when winter comes. I know there's going to be times when I think, oh, do I want to get in the car and drive here, or can I just do it online? So it's like there's this new temptation that wasn't there before.
Get your steps in. I just noticed after the pandemic, we have, I think, have done a good job to bring young families in and young kids, but we're still missing middle school kids. And I know this because I have a middle schooler. I'm not gonna turn and say anything about him because otherwise he'll get upset. But just, and I don't know how to reach them. You know, we can invite his friends, or it just feels like there's a section in there that we don't know, that haven't come back. And I hear that we used to have a pretty big group of middle schoolers and high schoolers participating at church. So that's the thing I'm curious about, and trying to figure out, even with the young kids, I notice once you get to about 3rd or 4th grade, they don't really want to be with the little kids. And so what can we do to keep them engaged so they will stay once they become middle schoolers and want to come?
Can I ask, only because the church that I have worked for the last 7, 8 years also has that situation, and is also noticing that folk around our age, kind of just out of college or a little bit older, are also kind of a missing demographic. Are you guys noticing that as well?
So how's your church fixing that, Jonathan?
Well, I have 10 steps.
I was glad you asked. Jonathan's church is, though, trying some very, I think Jonathan's church is trying some very interesting approaches. They've sort of, I think, I am going to do that, but I just wanted to sort of commend the church for doing, just not taking things as they are, just saying, okay, we're out of the pandemic, lots of things have changed. How could, this might be an opportunity to try some things that we haven't done in the past. So, Jonathan.
We also have a friend out here.
Yeah, I'll speak to that a little bit more as we kind of get into the conversation too, but please, yeah.
I'm Sonia. I'm one of the interim pastors here. So I wasn't here at the bulk of the pandemic, but kind of as this congregation was coming out of it. Middle schoolers are not alone, and to me there's a missing chunk of my age group, actually, as I look around the congregation, and it just makes me wonder a little bit. And then the whole slate of people that are watching online that I don't know because I wasn't here when they were, if they're the same people that were coming ahead of that. So I'm just curious about that because I want to know them, right? And I've been thinking, what does that mean? And are they seeing this community in other places, at restaurants or in homes or in other places, right? Yeah. So it's a new curiosity now that we're at this point in the transition here. I wonder, and I want to know them, right? And I know some, right, who have had surgery or for other reasons aren't here. I get that, but there's another piece that I'm curious about. So.
Just Darren, who had to leave, who was in the group who had to leave to go to the plane, catch a plane earlier than the rest of us. He works for a church in Chicago, and his role is digital pastor. And I think it's a totally new role that has happened since the pandemic. But I think trying to create community and not, instead of sort of saying, oh, we have to do that, but embracing that and saying, let's figure out how to pastor the folks who are part of our digital community. It's a hard thing, and it's a new thing, and I think it's kind of exciting that folks are recognizing how important that is too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to name also that a lot of what I heard in your answer, questioning, all of that was a questioning, was a curiosity, and I think that's where a lot of this has to begin, is that space of asking, what could this look like? Or what is it that we have a table set for people to come in and sit down and share this experience with us. What is it that would make the people who are not here right now feel like there was a place prepared for them? Not necessarily from the sense of, like, well, target market, what are they looking for? We gotta chase the trends, but more the sense of what are people genuinely looking for and longing for, and are there ways that we can lean into that, maybe in a different way or a more creative way? I'm curious also if there are more of you who are asking those kinds of questions and what those questions sound like. So for our church, some of that has been, what if, my demographic, my age group, a lot of us are looking for places where we can plug in and serve and do something tangible. What if we didn't have a traditional service one of the weeks and we spent that time doing something practical? What would that look like? What would we gain from it? Who would we gain from it? What would we have to let go of? Are we okay with letting that go? So I'm curious, do any of you have questions like that about your life together here at Christ the King?
Just use it. It's your teacher voice. Oh, shoot, so much for my teacher voice. I think we're in an ever-evolving situation of how it isn't that we should be tapping our toes waiting for people to come in, but how do we reach out and meet and greet where they are, hoping that maybe as time goes on they'll trail behind and meet us in this kind of a space or within a community of believers.
My question is, how do you get to talk to these people? Did they come in, or did you go out to restaurants, or how did you start talking to them?
That's a great question.
Hey, Jonathan, I want to just jump in on that question, because I was thinking about that. We're a musical group, and I met all these people because they play music. And in our church, we'd just go out and go to clubs and stuff and meet people. And then we needed a piano player or something, so I'd invite some guy to play piano. So, and then we began to develop ways to reach out to kids. We ended up sponsoring the arts program in a middle school near us. And so we provided the music and the theater, music and theater. So we had people in our church who could go out and teach those things, and after school programs, and they did science work too at the same time. So we met a lot of people that way. Not all those people came to church by any means, but we felt it animated our folks in the congregation because they were doing something meaningful. And so it gave them purpose, and it gave them a sense of connection both to us and to the neighborhood. And then it also did really introduce us to a lot of people in the neighborhood we wouldn't have met before. So I think you're right. You have to, you have to find out. I think what we were just brought to the need. There was a middle school in our neighborhood that has no arts program, and all of us who were in the music program and the choir and stuff, we were going like, well, how could we help? So we went to the principal and we asked them how to help and developed this whole thing. So it was a way of not just sitting in our church saying, I wish somebody could help with our arts program in there. We just did it, And so out of that, another woman in our church started an entire art making kind of art, after-school art program, visual art, having kids come in and make stuff and learn how to paint and do crafts. So anyway, that's just from my standpoint as an artist and as a person in the creative community. There are many other ways in different other communities. I loved what Lenora said today, where you just take what you have. You know, it's not like you have to have a new skill. I think you just have to figure out who you have. What do I have to give? What do I have to offer? How can I offer that beyond my church in a way that would connect me to them and to the church and that sort of thing? Be a connector.
I think, you know, to add on to what Gary was saying, one thing that you'll notice in there is that they were listening and open to hearing, this is the need here. This is how we would appreciate you to be present in this space and helping us. They didn't just say, hey, we want to do this and this is how. They went and asked and listened and were present in those spaces, followed the lead of the people who have experience and stake in those spaces. The other thing, you know, to kind of continue answering the question of how did we get to know some of the people who weren't there already. We have a longstanding weekly meal ministry for folks in the city of Chicago who are experiencing homelessness. And there is a large contingent of young adults from the neighborhood who have been attending there faithfully throughout the pandemic for years, but they don't step into our space on Sunday mornings. And it was regular conversation, just participating in the life of the community and the neighborhood that we belong in, that we are physically located in, getting to know the other people who show up around those goals, not necessarily creating a program that is about taking church and putting it out somewhere else, but being in these spaces where there is a need, meeting that need, not making it about spreading our message or our agenda, but just getting to know people. And then from there, you get a sense of what is this group of people who maybe are interested and curious, but are not ready or are not feeling safe enough to step into a church space or any other kind of space. I think you could transpose this into any other kind of context as well. But
Yeah, I was thinking about, I think we talked to a lot of churches who are asking this same question of how can we get these group of people to come into our church. And I think that it might be helpful to think of that question in a different way of not necessarily getting people to come here, but that the people in the church can meet people outside of the church. I think that no matter how welcoming your community is, when a new person steps into a church like this, you're going to feel like an outsider, right? And even if people are like, hey, welcome to the church, you still feel like there's a family here that you need to somehow worm your way into, and that can be stressful, and people don't really love doing that all the time. So meeting people elsewhere, meaning everybody's more of an outsider and not just there's one family and now you have to sort of enter into that family. Whereas if you're outside of it, sort of what Jonathan was saying earlier, like maybe you all go do a service project and you meet people outside of the church who are doing a service project together, and that way no one person is coming into a space where they feel like there's a lot of people who know each other and they're by themselves.
I'm loving what I'm hearing about the ideas and the questions you're asking. And I want to frame it in a bigger way, I think, more expansive way, which is, what is the goal of our Christian life together? Is it that people are here? Sometimes that has been the goal, and that is the goal, because we have so much to offer here. And you said there's a thriving music ministry here, and there's so much that we have in such a rich tradition. But I was in seminary, and I'm kind of cynical about church sometimes, and I think the question really is, what is it that we're called to do as Christians, and what should that community then look like? What are the peak goals of what such a community would be doing and accomplishing? Not because we need to accomplish things, but what is the vision of what we can be? And I think the questions you're asking can lead you to kind of projecting that vision that will allow you to expand in ways that are true to that call. But it's so easy to say, this is what we have, and we have so much here in this building and this tradition that we want to offer, and we want people to want this. I think it's really hard to let go of that and say, people need something different, or we need to reshape this so that it's something that people can accept and can thrive in, I guess.
I think one of the things that we talk about a lot as a group is, approaching things. I mean, as you noticed maybe today, that we really kind of did in some ways, pretty traditional liturgy. We did all the things, but we kind of did them in a little bit of a different way. And we put our own creativity into it. And I think creativity is really what's required from the church right now. I think one of the things that I was sort of taught along the way about creativity is that there are two crucial questions to ask. One is why? Why is this the way it is? Why have we always been doing it this way? Why is this so broken? Those kind of why questions are really important, and I think those why questions often come out of our feelings of like loss, and so those are really important questions to ask. And then, but the big creative question is the next one, which is what if? And Jonathan mentioned the what if a minute ago, but like what if you can actually, if you Google what if you'll be amazed to see that like creative people are always talking about, you have to ask what if. And I think, I sometimes have a vision like, wouldn't it be wonderful? What if churches got together once a month for a year and just asked what if, asked why and what if? And you don't know what might bubble up, you might not, maybe nothing, but I have a feeling like just asking the what if could spark all kinds of ideas. And one of the things when I work on creative projects and I go into talk with clients and things like that, we have these big brainstorms, and I always tell them, there is no wrong answer in this room, It's like we're so afraid of saying something, well, that's never been done before, people are going to laugh at me, or that's going to be terrible, or whatever. And you just like have to let go of that. I do think, whenever I think, well, there could be you could suggest something that would just be a really awful idea, I think about the flood. Was that really a good idea, God? I don't know. I'm not positive, but whatever. So like you throw out things that may or may not be, seem like something you could do or a possibility, but what if sort of sparks things and allows people to start having those conversations. So anyway, I throw that out as a possibility. What if?
I think one thing that hasn't changed about the world is we want connection. I think COVID broke that for a lot of people. And I think people are trying to find their ways back, and everyone's on a different path. And some people struggle to come back into places where there actually are people and bodies in rooms. Have a lot of anxiety. I think a lot of the young families kind of really felt that and felt very isolated. I keep on thinking about how past generations here in America have built incredible infrastructure, buildings, and incredible things. But where are we investing our time and money today? And I look around and I really feel like families are doing it really, really hard. And I feel like people need support. They need a mental and emotional support. They need people just to show up, maybe kind of to watch their kids because they've got to go to work, because making ends meet these days is really, really hard. So I think about that. Like, what are we building for the next generation, and what does connection look like? They're some of the questions I'm thinking about.
Anything else you all are thinking about? I want to be conscious of our time, where we probably need to wrap up soon, huh? Yeah. Any other questions or thoughts anyone wants to share?
I love your notion of what if. And I guess I think there is tradition in this place. There is history and the things that we've always done. But that notion of creativity, the notion of what if, and I think for me a little twist on that is how might we, the notion of like actions we can take, not just imagining possibilities of things that could be, but things we could do, and how do we put ourselves in that creative position of imagining the future of, I love the phrase lately of get caught trying, right? Like try to do something new, good, something that people want to be part of. And it may not always work, you know, it might not be the right thing and you'll try something else, but the action, the trying is something that draws people in and gets them to imagine possibilities. And I think that's where, you know, I see the future going, and the livelihood of churches is in that action of, yes, of welcoming, to Megan's point, but of doing and not just being.
Thanks. That's great. Any other final questions or words or anything from anyone?
I want to know what Nate's thinking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, look at the time. Yeah, I think, what do I think? Yeah, I'm just grateful for this conversation. I'm not a part of these kinds of conversations as much as I wish I could be a part of. So it's just been a blessing for me to like hear these beautiful reflections on worship this morning, and to just kind of be in the observation, wondering stance. So that's been a blessing to me, so thank you for letting me in on that. And that's all I want to say. I do want to close us in prayer and send you on your way. And I don't know if folks are going out for lunch. I'm not doing that because I have a meeting to talk about technology. But anyway, I just wanted to, open that up to you all, and to you all, if you all wanted to go grab lunch together, you can do that. So with that, let's pray. God, we thank you for the many. We thank you for the gifts that you have blessed them with to be a blessing to us. Thank you for creativity and for inspiring us in our call, our collective call to be your hands and feet in this place and in our neighborhood and in the entire world. Bless the members of this band. Bless them as they travel home or to their next gig. Give them strength and rejuvenation to do the next thing that you're calling them to do. We pray all these things and everything else in your Son's name. Amen. Let's say thank you to the many.